Welcome back. All right, so late getting started tonight because 7:30 start in California and all that, but hey, at least that ended in regulation. So tonight we had 10 games in the National Hockey League. Not bad for a Tuesday, considering some of the nights I've had of 15 games and 14 and whatnot. 10's not bad. So we'll go ahead, we'll jump in, we'll talk about the Ottawa Senators, the Montreal Canadiens first. It was Ullmark versus Montembeault, and Montreal opens the scoring on a power play at 3:37. Slafkovsky, it's a cross-crease pass and in. Caulfield and Suzuki with the assists, so 1-0 for the Montreal Canadiens. But Ottawa would fight their way back into it. At 4:01, so 24 seconds later, it's a one-timer from the high slot by Zetterlund. Clevin and Spence with the assists, so Ottawa ties the game at 1. Then late in the period at 16:52, Zub buries one on a net feed in close. Must have forgot he's a defensive defenseman here. Zub scores from Tkachuk and Zetterlund. So Zetterlund with a goal and an assist. Ottawa has themselves a 2-1 lead. That would be your score after one. Second period, 5:48 into it. Jake Sanderson widens the lead to 3-1. He scores from Amadio. And then it's a minute and 10 seconds later. Batherson buries a rebound from the side of the net, just outweighs Montembeault, makes it 4-1. The assists to Clevin and Spence. So Clevin and Spence with a couple of helpers tonight, and the Ottawa Senators are up 4-1. It is a special teams goal that gets Montreal back into the game at 8:49. Suzuki puts one in from a sharp angle on a wrist shot. Caulfield and Lane Hudson with the assists. So it is 4-2. We're not even halfway through the game. However, for the rest of the second period, we do not have any more scoring. So we go to the third with the score 4-2. And then in the third period, the fans call a penalty that the referee does not call. The play continues. Gallagher was going to get a penalty on the play, but during the delayed call, Tkachuk buries one from the slot at 12:43. Stützle and Perron with the assists. So not only does Montreal not get a power play, Ottawa scores to make it a 3-goal lead, and there was a delayed call on Montreal during that, so the referee is informed that he sucks while Ottawa's celebrating the goal. And 5-2 is your final in favor of Ottawa. So Montreal's fall continues. This is a tough one at home. Tomorrow night they're at home against Winnipeg, so look for a desperate game between those two teams tomorrow. Shots on net, 10-6 Ottawa in the first, 11-5 Ottawa in the second, 8-5 Ottawa in the third. They outshoot Montreal 29-21. Power plays 0-2 for Ottawa, 2-3 for Montreal. Montreal did not score 5-on-5. The hits 33-21 for the Habs. Ullmark saves 19 out of 21. Montembeault, another rough night for him statistically. 24 saves on 29 shots. Your 3 stars, Sanderson, Tkachuk, and Zetterlund. So for Montreal, it's back to the drawing board, and it's back to the drawing board tomorrow. All right, next up, Boston and Detroit. Swayman versus Gibson, and 6:52 in. It's a fast break goal by Van Riemsdyk, former Boston Bruin. The assist to Johansson and Seider. The Detroit Red Wings enjoyed that so much they would score again before the period's out. At 13:47, it's Seider with a one-timer pass to screen. Kane and DeBrincat with the assists. So it's 2-0 for Detroit, and that's your score after the first period. In the second period, a minute and 35 seconds in, DeBrincat gets a goal, one that maybe Swayman would have wanted back. Everything gets punchy at 8 minutes and 20 seconds. Boston clearly frustrated. Boston would get on the board not long after. At 11:09, Aspero. It's a one-timer from the point. It's his first NHL goal, and it's one that Gibson probably would have wanted back as well. Zadorov and Jeannot with the assists. Then at 15:38, Steeves roofs a rebound. Steeves has been really productive since coming up. The assist to Hampus, Lindholm, and Geekie. So suddenly we have a 3-2 score. But Detroit would answer. At 16:15, Sherratt puts one in from the slot on a rush. Larkin and Raymond with the assists. So that restores the 2-goal lead for Detroit. It's 4-2, and that would be your score through 2 periods of play. In the third period, there's a power play for Detroit, and they score on it at 3:53. Raymond scores from Seider and Kane, and that ends the night for Swayman. First time I believe that he's been pulled all season. I think they said that. So Korpisalo was in the net. So everything gets punchy with 12:13 left, and again, you could tell Boston was really frustrated in this one. Eventually, Boston makes things a little interesting. At 14:57, during a 4-on-4, Huznadinov tips in a net feed. The assists to Hampus, Lindholm, and Geeky. So Geeky with a couple of helpers today. The goalie pull happens with 3.5 minutes left. Eventually, Boston gets one, but it's with only 10 seconds left at 19:50. Steves with a one-timer from a sharp angle. Zaka and Hampus Lindholm with the assists. So that makes it 5-4. That's as close as Boston gets. Detroit with a victory tonight. Your 3 stars, Seider, DeBrincat, and Steves, who had a couple of goals for Boston. Shots on net, 10-7 Boston in the first, 14-10 Detroit in the second, 18-11 Boston in the third. Final shots, 38-32 for the Bruins. Power plays, Boston 0-2, Detroit 1-3. The hits, 27-18 for Boston. Swayman saves 18 out of 23. Korpisalo saves all 9 in relief. And Gibson saved 34-38. Had a decent night. Sure, the Aspero goal he might have wanted back, but in the end, Gibson does bring his save percentage up a bit, and he gets the victory. That might be just as important. All right, next up, the Tampa Bay Lightning and the New York Islanders. Vasilevsky versus Sorokin. Pretty evenly played first period. Both teams had one power play, but the Islanders are dictating in that it's a very fast first 20 minutes. It was a very fast game. It's just Islanders games are like that, and it's scoreless after one. Second period, 55 seconds in, Bo Horvat scores. Shabanov with the assist. And from there, it becomes the Sorokin show. Both teams had one power play in that period, but Sorokin made some fantastic saves, and it's 1-0 for the Islanders after 2. Third period, 5.5 minutes in, exactly. Duclair with a wrister blocker side from the slot makes it 2-0 for the Islanders. That all-important insurance goal. The assist to Ritchie and D'Angelo. So it's 2-0 in favor of the Islanders. Tampa, though, would look to respond. Eventually, they do. At 16:25, it's short side from a sharp angle. James just catches Sorokin off the post. Lilleberg and Paul with the assists. That makes it 2-1 in favor of the New York Islanders. The goalie pull would happen with 2:46 left. Tampa had opportunities, just could not tie this. It's a 2-1 victory for the Islanders. It ends the winning streak for Tampa at 7. The chess magnets on the board because it was a 2-1 score, so 3 goals or less. It's a chess match. Your 3 stars are Horvat, Sorokin, and Duclair. Shots on net, 8 apiece in the first, 13-8 Tampa in the second, 9-7 Tampa in the third. Final shots 30-23 in favor of the Lightning. Power plays, both teams go 0-3. The hits, 18-15 for the Islanders. Vasilevsky saves 21 out of 23. Sorokin, 29 saves on 30 shots. One of those fantastic games that Sorokin has been known to have this season. All right, next up, the Dallas Stars and the New York Rangers. DeSmith versus Shesterkin. Sagan would exit during the first period. Looked like it was his knee. Not great news for Dallas. Sagan does get injured, does miss time. I would think he's going to miss some time here. At 6:51, out of the box, Soucy ends up scoring. It is a loose puck behind DeSmith. He puts in Laba and Sherry with the assists. So 1-0 for the Rangers. And then Dallas gets it back at 9:02. Capobianco with a point shot pass to screen ties it at 1. And that would be your score through the first period. The second period had a lot of shots. Both goaltenders played very, very well in this one. There were 2 power plays for the Rangers during that period. There was 1 for Dallas. The penalty kill held up. Again, the goaltending being a big part of that. It remains 1-1 through 2 periods of play. In the third, we get a 4-minute power play for the Rangers. To Dallas's credit, they do kill that off. Then at 9:32, on a rush, it's a cross-crease pass and in for Rantanen. Wyatt Johnston with the assist. So Dallas has a 2-1 lead in New York. And obviously for the Rangers and their record at home, had to make Ranger fans kind of upset. So that was also the first shot of the period for Dallas. At that point, the Rangers had 11. So one thing to consider. The goalie pull happens with 2:28 left, and the Rangers would tie it at 17:47. Cooley buries his own rebound. Trocheck and Panarin with the assists. And so that makes it 2-2. We go to overtime. Dallas would win the opening faceoff, but the Rangers would get the puck, and they would score on their second shot of overtime. It's Gavrikov at 1:09. Panarin and Zibanejad with the assists. So the Rangers with a big win at home tonight, 3-2 in overtime over Dallas. Your 3 stars, Gavrikov, Shesterkin, and DeSmith. I'm guessing Ottinger starts tomorrow night in New Jersey. Shots on net, 10 apiece in the first, 12-11 Dallas in the second, 18-3 Rangers in the third. So Dallas kind of took the third period off, and in overtime the Rangers got both shots, including the shot that matters. Final shots, 41-25 for the Rangers. Power plays, Dallas 0 for 2, the Rangers 0 for 5. The hits, 27-17 for the Rangers. DeSmith saves 38 out of 41. Shesterkin saves 23 out of 25 at the other end. All right, next up, the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Florida Panthers. So, of course, Marchand today talking up the Maple Leafs, and maybe it gave him some confidence. Woll versus Bobrovsky in this one in 5:22 in. It's Troy Stecher, one of my favorites. It's a point shot pass to screen. Stecher from McMahon and Joshua. We have ourselves a 1-0 lead for Toronto. Then at 7:54, it's Joshua bearing a rebound on a rush on what was only the fourth shot of the game for the Toronto Maple Leafs. The assist to McMahon and Stecher. So the same three players combined on both goals. Toronto has themselves a 2-0 lead. They didn't rely on Matthews or Tavares for that. So Toronto has a 2-0 lead, and that holds up through one. Second period, during a Toronto power play, Florida scores. And of course, it's Sam Reinhart scoring shorthanded. He buries one from the doorstep on a net feed from Lundell at 14:42, cuts the Toronto lead to 2-1. The Panthers then finish the kill. So that's the important thing, and it stays 2-1 in favor of Toronto after 2. Third period, 12:18 in, Scott Laughton scores from Lorentz. So another depth scorer for the Toronto Maple Leafs shows up, makes it a 3-1 lead, and this is one of those important things for Toronto if they're going to turn this season around. 3:08 left. The Toronto Maple Leafs get a power play. The goalie pull would happen with 1 minute and 20 seconds left to make it 5-on-5. Of course, the penalty then ends, so it becomes 6-on-5. And at 19:41, Tavares hits the empty net to make it 4-1 for the Toronto Maple Leafs. They win in Florida 4-1. We'll talk about the standings when we get there, but a little bit of a shocker. Your 3 stars in this one, Woll, Stecher, and Reinhart. Shots on net, 11 apiece in the first, 9 apiece in the second, and 10-7 Toronto in the third. Final shots, 30-27 for the Maple Leafs. Power plays, Toronto 0 for 3, Florida 0 for 1. The hits, 27-22 Florida. Woll saves 26 out of 27, whereas Bobrovsky saves 26 out of 29. Entertaining game, though. All right. Last game on this board is Calgary and Nashville. Of course, the game everybody wanted to watch tonight, right? Actually, it was kind of entertaining. So, Cooley versus Saros, and I say kind of because if you're a Flames fan, you might have found it less entertaining. It's 6:24. It's an opening goal for Nashville, and it's Schaefer's first NHL goal. He buries it in close. Svechkov and Haig with the assists. So it's 1-0 Nashville, and that goal would hold up as the only goal through the first period. Second period, Nashville starts opening things up a bit. At 5:04, Stamkos puts one into an open net from the doorstep for point number 1,200 in his career. The assist to Evangelista and O'Reilly. And then at 14:25, it's Marchessault. He gets a goal. The assists to Yossi and Haig. And a little over a minute later at 15:32, Weisblad deflects one in from the doorstep for his first National Hockey League goal. The assist to Bunting and Stastny. So all of a sudden we have a 4-0 lead in favor of Nashville. That's our score through 2 periods. Tough night for the Flames. Third period, 2:59 in. Bunting buries a rebound from in close, so he adds a goal to the assist he had earlier. The assist to Wilsby and Jost. Coleman then had a fight with Weisblad, so Weisblad with a goal and a fight. No assist. He was that close to the Gordie Howe hat trick. Then, on a power play at 13:39, the Flames end the goose egg. It's Frost with a wrister from the slot. Kadri and Huberdeau with the assists. Makes it 5-1. Ultimately, that's your final score. Nashville with a win over Calgary tonight to move out of the cellar in the West and put Calgary back there. Your 3 stars are Weisblad, Schaefer, and Stamkos. The most obvious. 2 with their first NHL goals and 1 with his 1,200th NHL point. Shots on net, 10-9 Calgary in the first, 10-7 Calgary in the second, 12-8 Nashville in the third. Final shots, both teams had 28. Power plays, Calgary 1 for 3, Nashville 0 for 3. The hits, 24-18 for Calgary. Cooley saved 12 out of 16, was replaced by Wolf, who saved 11 out of 12. I wouldn't say it's Cooley's fault. This one goes the wrong way. Saros saves 27 out of 28. Good night for Saros. And let's go ahead and go to board number 2. All right, Vancouver and the Colorado Avalanche. Lankinen versus Wedgwood in this one. 2:55 in, the Canucks open the scoring. Linus Karlsson with a deke in close via 2-on-1 rush. Baines and Ratu with the assists. So the Abbotsford line combines. It's 1-0 for the Canucks. And it stays 1-0 for the Canucks through most of the first period until 1923. And of course, it's Nathan MacKinnon. He scores from Taves and Malinsky, making it a 1-1 tie. That would be your score after one. Second period, Wedgwood gets hurt. I'm not sure what his status is for their next game, but Blackwood goes into the net. And eventually, Colorado gives them a lead. At 13:52, it's a 2-on-1 rush. Brock Nelson roofs one to make it 2-1 for Colorado. Landeskog and Colton with the assists. And then it's the last minute of the period yet again. It is MacKinnon yet again. Rister from the right circle. Landeskog and Manson with the assists. So at 19:25 of the second period, it becomes 3-1 in favor of the Colorado Avalanche. The third period, the goalie pull would happen with 3:10 left. The Canucks just looking for anything to try to tie this or get a goal. Besser got hurt. It looked like it was his shoulder. He would stay in the game, but it definitely looked like his shoulder was bugging him. So we'll see what his status is for the next game. The Canucks call a timeout with 46 seconds left. They're not able to generate anything. Final score is 3-1 for Colorado. They're undefeated since 1946. Your three stars are MacKinnon, Landeskog, and Nelson. I'll say this much for Colorado. They've built up such a huge point streak and such a gigantic lead over everybody. They are either going to go on the most amazing run to a Stanley Cup that we've ever seen in 2026, or it's going to be the most epic meltdown that's ever been witnessed in hockey history. Shots on net, 14-8 Colorado in the first, 12-5 Colorado in the second, 8-5 Vancouver in the third. Final shots 31-21 for the Avs. Power plays, both teams go 0 for 1. The hits, 18-17 Colorado. Lankinen, 28 saves on 31 shots. Wedgwood saved 10 out of 11, and then Blackwood saved all 10 in relief. So, again, we'll see what Wedgwood's status is for the next game, but it doesn't matter. They're gonna keep winning. Their next game's in New York against the Islanders. They're just gonna keep winning. So this is how it's gonna work. All right, next up, the Wild and the Oilers. Wallstead versus Skinner. This should be a quick one, honestly. 13-10 in. On a face-off win, Brodin with a one-timer from the point makes it 1-0. Sturm with the assist. He won the face-off there. And Minnesota maintains that lead through one period. Minnesota doesn't play the most exciting style, but they do lean on their goaltender a bit, so there's that. In the second period, there were two Oiler power plays. There was a shot ratio of more than 2-1 for the Oilers, but Wallstead has been absolutely ridiculous, and that ridiculousness continues tonight. Just the numbers he's putting up don't seem like they're sustainable, and yet here we are. They seem to be sustainable. We're into December, and he's still doing it. So in the third period, with the score still 1-0, and the Oilers doing line juggling to try to figure this out, the goalie pull happens with 1:45 left, with 41.2 seconds left. They draw a power play. They call a timeout before the 6-on-4. It doesn't matter. Wallstead holds on. He has 4 shutouts in his last 6 starts. 4. So the Tony the Tiger magnet's on the board because Wallstead's ridiculous. I may need something just specifically for Wallstead at this point. Then the chess magnet's on the board because 3 goals or less in this game. Your 3 stars are Wallstead, Skinner, and Brodin. Shots on net, 9-7 Minnesota in the first, 15-6 Edmonton in the second, 11-9 Edmonton in the third. The Oilers outshoot Minnesota 33-24. Should have won the game, but Wallstead didn't agree with them. The power plays, both teams go 0 for 2. The hits, 25-19 for Minnesota. Wallstead, 33 saves for the shutout. Just ridiculous. Skinner, 23 saves on 24 shots. I think that's back-to-back good starts for Skinner. So, not necessarily great news for the Oilers losing tonight, but back-to-back good starts isn't, the worst thing in the world. I'm just looking at the preview board, and it looks like, the Oilers have... Don't they play tomorrow? No. They play at home against Seattle on Thursday. So that's the next game for Edmonton. I'm just cheating and looking ahead. I apologize. All right, next up, the Chicago Blackhawks and the Vegas Golden Knights. So Knight versus Hart, Carter Hart making his debut with the Vegas Golden Knights, and they give him a lead 27 seconds in. It goes off Wyatt Kaiser's skate. Barbashev scoring this one from Bowman and Theodore, but Chicago would answer. At 1:23, it's Oliver Moore. It's a wrister far corner on a rush. Bertuzzi and Nazar with the assists. So it looks like this might be a crazy game. I might need an 80s magnet. And then there wasn't any scoring the rest of that first period. It's 1-1 after 1. Second period, Bertuzzi scores. They challenge it for offside, but he tagged up. So it's not offside. It counts. And it was on a turnover by Carter Hart as well. He kind of hands the puck to him and it goes in the net at 11-22. But Vegas would tie it again. At 17-19, Hutton has one that appears to go in off Grzelcyk in front of the net. So that's 2 goals off of Chicago defenseman, which doesn't make Spencer Knight's job any easier. The assist to Mark Stone on that one. So it's 2-2 after 2. Third period, 4:45 in on a rush, Bedard. And he is doing things every night that's just absolutely ridiculous to watch. He wires it top corner. I can't do it justice. The assist to Burakovsky and Green makes it 3-2 for Chicago. And they hold that lead for a while. But at 17:32, Bowman buries a rebound to tie it. Theodore and Barbashev with the assists. It's Vegas. Vegas is good at coming back in third periods. They haven't been for a while, but we know it's Vegas, and they do. In the overtime, the Hawks controlled early. Green couldn't bury one in close. Both teams had opportunities in the overtime, but we go to the shootout. And in the shootout, it's Shea Theodore with the winner. Bedard did add like a highlight reel shootout goal as well during that shootout. But in the end, it's a 4-3 shootout win for Vegas. Your 3 stars are Theodore, Bowman, and Hart. So even though it's a shootout victory, all 3 members are Vegas because that's how they do their stars. Even in a loss, sometimes they'll have all 3 stars or Vegas Golden Knights. Your shots on net, 8 apiece in the first, 10-9 Chicago in the second, 9-6 Vegas in the third, and 6-2 Chicago in the overtime. Final shots, 30-28 for the Blackhawks. Power plays, Chicago 0 for 5, Vegas 0 for 2. The hits, 20-9 for Vegas. Knight saves 25 out of 28. Hart saves 27 out of 30. And I get the feeling that these 2 teams, I don't know, maybe we see them in the playoffs. Maybe Chicago can get into a wild card spot, play Vegas in a first-round matchup. That would be kind of fun. We haven't seen them play each other in the playoffs since 2020. And that was the weird playoffs of 2020. So be nice to see them in a proper series and see Bedard against Vegas. That could be kind of a fun one. And I'm telling you, I have a feeling ESPN would like that matchup as well. All right, next up, the LA Kings. So finishing things up tonight, the Capitals and the Kings. Thompson versus Kemper, and it's a power play marker in the first period that gets the Capitals on the board. Wilson tips in a rebound at 14:50. Leonard and Ovechkin with the assists. So Tom Wilson continues to put up a ridiculous amount of goals, and the Washington Capitals are up 1-0. That's your score through 1. Second period, the Kings would tie it at 5:28. It's a net feed buried on a 2-on-1 rush. Kempe puts it in. Nice play by Kopitar to set it up. And Trevor Moore with the other assist, so that ties the game at 1. Duhaime had a fight with Edmondson. The Kings come out of that with a power play. That was late in the period, so that power play rolls over into the third period with the score tied at 1. So there's 1:05 left in the power play for the Kings. The Caps kill that off, and not long after, at 1:18 on a rush, Beauvillier buries one from the doorstep. It's a 3-on-1. McMichael and Ovechkin with the assist. So Ovechkin with a couple of helpers, and so that makes it 2-1 in favor of the Washington Capitals. The goalie pull happens with 2.5 minutes left, and at 18:18, Protas hits the empty net. The assist to Faravari and Wilson, so that makes the score 3-1. They pull the goalie again, but 3-1 is your final. Your 3 stars in this one, Beauvillier, Ovechkin, and Kempe. Shots on net, 12-3 Washington in the first, 14-8 LA in the second, 7-5 LA in the third. Final shots, 25-24 for the Capitals. Power plays, Washington 1 for 2, LA 0 for 2. The hits, 20-13 for Washington. Thompson was very good, 24 saves on 25 shots. Kemper wasn't bad himself, 22 saves on 24 shots. So the Kings and the Caps, I believe, are done with each other for the year. I think it was a 2-1 win in one location and now a 3-1 win in the other. They're very defensive teams. If they meet in a Stanley Cup final, we might need a pillow. At any rate, just for sleep. Not anything nefarious. But anyways, so that's how the games went tonight. So let's go ahead and discuss what these games did to the standings. All right, so starting out west, Colorado now 19-1-6, 44 points in 26 games. If they play 500 from here, they have 100 points this season. So, not bad. Dallas 17-5-5, so 39 points in 27 games. They fall 5 points back of first place. They'd be 6 points ahead in the Pacific, 5 points ahead in both the Atlantic and the Metro, but they're 5 points back because they're in the Central. So that's how it works. Minnesota's 4 points back of Dallas, meaning they'd be 2 points ahead in the Pacific, 1 point ahead in both the Atlantic and the Metro, but 35 points in 27 games. So, yeah, Colorado, Dallas, and Minnesota, that's your murderer's row in the Central. The Pacific, the Anaheim Ducks still first, but Vegas within a point now at 12-6-8, 32 points in 26 games. With the loss tonight, the Kings dropped to third, 12-7-7, 31 points in 26 games. No change in the wild cards because Chicago couldn't hold that lead. If Chicago held the lead, they would have moved above the playoff line. They're 11-9-6, 28 points in 26 games. The Oilers dropped to 11-11-5, 27 points in 27 games. Also missing out on an opportunity to jump above the playoff line. The Canucks, 10-14-3. They're now only 1 point ahead of last place in the West. And for full transparency, they are now at the bottom of my power rankings. Nashville does pass Calgary, 9-13-4 record. It trumps a 9-15-4 record for Calgary. Both teams with 22 points. So, yeah, the three bottom teams are right here. And yeah, that may be the three-way horse race for the opportunity to have a top draft pick potentially via the draft lottery. In the Atlantic, Tampa with the loss, 16-8-2. They're now with 34 points, just 4 points ahead of second place Ottawa. Ottawa 13-9-4, 30 points in 26 games. Detroit's back in third place. This is how quickly things can change. Ottawa and Detroit were on this side of the board yesterday, or this morning, and now they're both above the playoff line in the top three. Detroit 14-11-2, 30 points in 27 games. Washington moves into second place in the Metro, 16-9-2 record, 34 points in 27 games, passing the New Jersey Devils, who play tomorrow at home against the Dallas Stars, although Washington plays in San Jose tomorrow. No change in the wild cards. Pittsburgh and Philly, the Islanders, 14-10-3, 31 points in 27 games. They tie both Pittsburgh and Philly in terms of points, but they have played more games than both the Penguins and the Flyers. The Rangers 14-12-2, 30 points in 28 games. How ridiculous is the Metro Division in that both wild cards and the top two teams below the wild card are in that division. Montreal 13-9-3, 29 points in 25 games. So they have games in hand on teams that they're chasing here and in this part of the board, but things are not going great for the Montreal Canadiens right now. Toronto with their win, 12-11-3 record, 27 points in 26 games. They're no longer last in the East. They passed Buffalo and Florida. Florida's now last in the East, 12-12-1, 25 points in 25 games. So, in the event that the Florida Panthers win the Stanley Cup in June, the storyline will be, remember on December 2nd when the Florida Panthers were last in the East, and then they won the Stanley Cup. So, that's where we're at. That's what's good. That's where we're at. And so we'll see whether or not Florida's struggles continue. My guess is no. And I just base that on recent history. I don't think their struggles continue, but it's going to be interesting to see how they pull themselves out of this, especially once Tkachuk's back. That should make a big difference. But they've dug themselves into a bit of a chasm. They're 6 points now back of a playoff spot, and they do not have games in hand on Pittsburgh or Philly. The one thing is they're only 5 points back of third place in their division, though. So it might be easier to get third place in the Atlantic than a wild card spot. No one saw that coming this year. We'll see if it continues to be the case. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Hit like and subscribe in the event you may not have done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. It's greatly appreciated. I will talk to you again soon.